You're watching the New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
The Cloud Native Computing Foundation, or CNCF, hosts critical components of the global technology infrastructure, including Kubernetes, Prometheus, and Envoy. CNCF is the neutral home for collaboration, bringing together the industry's top developers, end users, and vendors.
Welcome back to KubeCon North America here in Atlanta on the New Stack. I'm Jonathan Bryce with the CNCF, and I am here with Frederic Lardinois,
Senior Editor for AI at the New Stack. Thank you, Jonathan. That was very professional. We should hire you.
Hey, you know, it's. I heard this is the last one that y'all are doing, so we decided to mix it up.
It's the last one for us at KubeCon, and it's your first KubeCon as Executive Director of the CNCF.
It is, yeah. It's been a great show and really fun to kind of be experiencing it in a different way this time around.
How has it been different, except for having to give keynotes and stuff like that? But
yeah. Well, the thing that I have probably enjoyed the most about stepping in as the executive director is just the number of conversations that I've been able to have with new companies. You know, the CNCF ecosystem is very large, 700 plus members, and really, really broad in terms of the industries that are participating. So I've literally had hundreds of conversations in the last few months in pretty much any industry you can think about. And the stories that I'm hearing, what people are doing is just, that's been my favorite part, you know, getting to really dive deep. Everything from Michelin, who's running Kubernetes in their tire factories to run custom software to manage the rubber curing process for tires. I mean, you know, like this is stuff that I didn't know was happening. To financial services companies who are, you know, trying to push agents out in a way that's compliant and secure and safe, and just a lot of awesome stories.
For sure. Now I want to talk about those a little bit, but before that, the standard question when somebody new comes into a leadership role is, so what's changing? What's different? What changes are you making to the?
Yeah. You know, I think the way it works in open communities is it's really not about any one person, no matter what position they're in. I think the things that I can help with are you know, highlighting some of those stories, highlighting where the opportunities are. You know, Kubernetes is 11 years old, the CNCF is 10 years old, and the CNCF has 130 plus projects now. A lot of people don't realize that. So I think, you know, I want to make sure that we highlight all of the incredible breadth of technology in CNCF, and then we also look at how we can apply that over the next 10 years and where the biggest opportunities are, where the most investment is going to be, and what's our role to play in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, if there's one theme that just crystallized out of this conference right now, it's AI on Kubernetes to some degree. And
right. Yeah.
This morning at a breakfast, you said, "I'm obsessed with Inference."
Yes.
Which is that where you go? Is that where the community is going? Is that where you're going?
Yeah. Well, if you look at AI, one of the things that I've talked a lot about this week is we have to go one level deeper than just saying AI. Mm-hmm. And you know, what are the types of AI? What are the components of AI? And when we do that, then we can figure out where the places are that make the most sense for us to work. And you know, a lot of people have been really, really into LLMs and training. There's so much innovation happening with open weights models. And I mean, the good news is most of that is running on Kubernetes and cloud native technologies like you know, PyTorch on top of Kubernetes. A lot of people are using that at scale. And now everybody's really hyped about agents and MCP servers and this kind of thing, where I think we're kind of missing the real key part of the story is around inference, mm-hmm. which is where you take those models and you serve them so that they can answer requests and make predictions for agents and applications. And if we skip over that, we're going to actually not be able to achieve the dreams that we have for our agents. And yeah, I think that inference specifically fits so well with the technologies that we have in the cloud native community and with the skill sets that we have as well. It's all about deploying, securing, scaling, observing, and doing it in a way where it's much more of an online real-time type of application versus batch like training is. So yeah, I think inference is the biggest opportunity for sure.
Yeah, and probably the biggest workload of the next 10 years.
I think it'll be the biggest
default. I think
the biggest workload mankind will ever have.
All right, until we come up with the next thing, maybe. But yeah. What does that mean for kind of the projects today? Like, how do they adapt to this new world? What are you seeing there?
Yeah. Well, this has come up in a lot of the conversations I've had with companies, and what I think the kind of common journey that people have been on is they will take some stack. It might be Ray on Kubernetes or KServe, which just graduated this week. And
what is KServe?
KServe is a CNCF project that is an inference serving engine. They'll take these kinds of things and they'll deploy them on top of Kubernetes, and that will get them to the first phase of being able to load up a model and start to answer queries and do the basic level of inference. What I think you start to see when you scale that up is how do you scale horizontally across GPUs while maintaining context, while sharing cache, and while increasing the efficiency, because GPUs are really expensive, and even if you have the money, they're waiting lists, and there's not enough power in the data centers, and so the efficiency is the next phase, and I think we're just at the very beginning of that, and that is where I think our projects have big opportunities to kind of make changes, make improvements, and help make not just 20 or 30% improvements in efficiency, but orders of magnitude of efficiency for these inference stacks.
Sure, and the core project for the CNCF is and remains Kubernetes. Does that play a role there as well in efficiency? Are there spots in Kubernetes, features?
Yeah, so I'm sure there will be, but I think that actually where I've seen people getting gains are with the kind of the Kubernetes primitives that exist already. So things like the networking model and the routing model. If you put in a plugin that has a little bit of awareness of the type of workload you're doing, the inference workload you're doing, then you can route inference requests to a specific GPU or to caches that have been pre-filled.
Right.
This kind of thing gets you big gains. So it's not necessarily changing the core of Kubernetes. It's using the architecture of Kubernetes, but with some new kind of plugins, so to speak, to get those gains.
For sure. Yeah, I was talking to a company yesterday that we were talking about just a cold start problem for LLMs on these. It takes minutes sometimes to start up, and some optimization you can bring it down to maybe a minute, but that's still a long time, right?
Right,
So
and I think that one of the other reasons why cloud native principles are really valuable, it gets to deployment. And I think sometimes, you think about these LLMs as just some of them are huge. There are also ones that are smaller, and a lot of times when an open weights model comes out, it'll have several different sizes. And the other side of it is, we're going to have a lot of things that are not an LLM that are running in these environments, and that is where you can get huge performance gains, thousands of times faster. If you're not trying to search through the history of every Nobel Prize winner and the campaigns of Genghis Khan in order to answer a question about what is traffic in downtown Atlanta, then you can go much faster, much cheaper, and so there's a lot of, I think we have to move beyond the ChatGPT moment and LLMs in our thought process around what is AI and how are we going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, this also came up earlier today when you were talking on stage with a couple of other folks, that we're trying to shoehorn AI into a lot of LLMs into a lot of workloads where maybe that isn't necessary, right? So
and LLMs are very impressive, and I think the kind of human interaction that they mimic blew a lot of people's minds when ChatGPT came out in 2022, almost exactly 3 years ago. I think it was the end of November in 2022, and that moved AI from just this kind of deep science thing that was inside of Google Translate and algorithms for social media. It moved it to the forefront of society in a way that technology doesn't do very often. But I think that was also maybe a little bit of a distraction from progress that can be made in those other areas. But I think we're getting past that, and this is what I'm hearing from companies is, now they want to be finding the right models for the right use cases, and we're kind of reaching the limit of just the sort of global footprint of knowledge that the internet represents. And so we need specialized data sets. And sometimes those are synthetic, sometimes those are created purposely for a model, whether that's world models and geospatial data or biometric models for our phones that use biometric security. We have to go create new data, and that's kind of the new space. And that becomes really valuable. So this is what companies want to own and want to specialize in, and ultimately, all of that is going to have to be running on an inference system of some kind.
Right. Yeah, and then new types of models too. I was just at SAP last week at their TechEd event, and they launched a relational foundation model, which is basically a combo of LLM and deep learning, doing predictions. Right. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in that space too. I think it's like we're moving beyond the large model that we're calling on the OpenAI API, for example, right? So
yeah, and I think the agents are extremely interesting and talked about a lot right now, but that is going to be another step function in kind of the load that is put on the systems that are serving these models.
Sure.
Because an interaction that we have with an LLM is actually quite slow and low volume, and when you go out and you give an agent a complex task with multiple steps, it's going to try to do that in parallel or as fast as it can, parallel where possible. And so that's going to be something that's just increasing the load dramatically. And so anything that you can do to make those requests happen more efficiently, smaller models, better inference, whatever it is, that's going to make those agents more efficient, more cost effective, and also better quality results.
For sure. Now, just to get back to the foundation a little bit and kind of the mission there are, most of the projects here have some relationship with AI at this point, but there are also quite a few that don't or aren't really affected by that. How do you balance that right now with this push towards AI, but also the rest of the projects that may not only be partially maybe affected by that?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's kind of two parts to that. I think that everything will be impacted by AI because it's going to be a workload that runs in every environment, and so that at some level everything will be affected, but it may be one step removed. If you're pretty low in the stack, you may not actually care what the workload is. But I think that the AI workloads, they exercise the environments in a different way. And we had a keynote from OpenAI yesterday, and they talked about FluentBit and their usage of it, and how by changing a few lines of code to operate a little bit differently, they cut processor utilization by 50%. And it's because the amount of data that they are trying to track and process is just at an insane level that is exercising the code in new ways. So is FluentBit building AI features? Not necessarily, but AI is exercising it in a different way, and it's actually making FluentBit better and more scalable for all workloads. So I think that there's going to be areas where we build intelligent routing in Kubernetes to serve a model faster, and that's going to be like really directly AI. And then there's going to be things where it's impacted just because the scale of AI workloads is going to be so huge that nothing will be left unscathed.
Yeah, for sure. Nothing. That sounds ominous to some degree. We'll see where it goes.
We'll come out better for it.
I hope so. I sure hope so. Now, talking about coming out better, there's the conformance program as well that we should maybe talk about for a second here. The Kubernetes AI Conformance.
Yes,
program.
We launched a Kubernetes AI Conformance Program this week, and it's V1. It's something that the community work to put together, starting really around the summer, I guess, and the goal there is to give a target for people to aim at a basic level of functionality and capabilities. Over time, I think it's going to become more robust, just like the standard certified Kubernetes conformance program has. It may start to include other pieces outside of Kubernetes. This is who knows? But I think that it's really good to put a target, and I say that to get like real momentum and coalescence around something, you kind of need three things. You have to have the target, like a conformance program. Then you need implementations that are conformant, that fulfill the requirements there, but that are actual code, that are the things that you can go deploy and run and use. And then I think you need reference architectures that are based on real world usage.
Right. Like
the example from OpenAI or Pokemon Go gave a keynote on the first day, and that's where you go, okay, I have to have this set of functionality. These are the projects and products that get me there, and this is the way that I can deploy them for my use case. This company looks like my company looks, and I can follow their pattern, and then when you get that, then you see a real acceleration. Right now, I think where we are is pretty far back here, where everybody's kind of figuring it out on their own.
Yeah.
And that's just because things are moving so fast. But when you look at what the greatest strength of open source is, I think it's moving from here to here really quickly, just because everybody's willing to share and actually talk openly about how to do it well and learn from each other.
Yeah, and it's kind of what worked for Kubernetes itself as well, right? With kind of the certification there. But from a practical perspective, what does that mean then? I can take my AI container and I know it's going to run in the same way everywhere. Is that kind of what I should think of? Or?
Yeah, so the idea is that if you have an AI workload, you're going to know that there are certain components available, like DRA and some other pieces within a Kubernetes environment. So you can have a conformant Kubernetes environment that's just kind of a plain vanilla Kubernetes, and it doesn't necessarily have all of those elements that you would want if you're trying to run an AI workload. And I would say the simplest way to think about it is it's really targeting accelerated workloads.
Okay.
So GPUs, and this is like I said, I think step one. And as we go along and we figure out what the patterns are and what's working really well for more people, then we'll keep revving the conformance program, and then it'll get even easier to move, migrate, and make use of multiple systems.
The natural flow of these things, right, at the end of the day. So I know you're obsessed with inference, but let's talk about training for a moment too, though, right? Because that is a massive workload.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to be the largest, but how do you think about that? How does that fit into this story here?
Well, I think training is very interesting. It's so ChatGPT, as we said, came out 3 years ago, and a lot of the training that was happening inside of kind of closed source proprietary companies. But even then, they were using open source tools like PyTorch and TensorFlow, and these kinds of tools to run those. And within the CNCF, there's a project KubeFlow that's been around for years, and it really was I think initially focused on a really robust tool set around training frameworks, and it's great because you can use it to deploy, monitor, visualize, and manage GPUs and a training run. I think that is actually really mature. So it's not that I'm not interested in it, but I think we've been doing that for a few years, and I think we have really good, really mature open source tools that have reached that point of reference architectures and a pretty standardized way of doing it. So I think training is awesome. I think where I'm interested in is the advent of small models, where people are going to do smaller training runs with specialized data, and not necessarily these kind of like months-long training runs to create new LLMs. What I think will be interesting is to see how that's tied to kind of the continuous deployment practices that have become very common in platform engineering teams and cloud native environments. Because obviously, if you're training a ChatGPT 5 style model, that's not necessarily a continuous deployment use case. If you are training a local geospatial model, you may need to do that multiple times a week. And now you are getting to that point where you actually need to have delivery pipelines that are turning over at a much more rapid rate. So I think that's going to be really interesting to me to see how deployment models shift and how we can train faster and more times.
I was at the PyTorch conference a few weeks ago, right? What's the relationship with them like? Because they do have a lot of that training stack with PyTorch and VLLM, also for inferencing to some degree, right?
Yeah, so the PyTorch Foundation recently expanded from being really the home of PyTorch only to hosting other projects, and you were at the conference. I didn't make it to the most recent one, but I've been before, and I think that community is definitely like more deep AI oriented in terms of the expertise and the types of problems they're solving. So I think that a lot of times what happens is as a technology matures, you have to have a way to kind of like get that expertise and make it mass available in a mass way. And I think we're in this phase right now. And in terms of the relationship, a lot of the inference systems, they make use of VLLM as the inference engine, orchestrated by Kubernetes, and like AI Bricks is one, LLMD is another. Ray, we talked about already, is on top of Kubernetes. So I think that the relationship is similar to, if you think about like the Postgres database, a lot of people run Postgres databases inside of Kubernetes, or whatever kind of application server, you end up deploying it in Kubernetes. And I think what I see coming out of the PyTorch Foundation and the projects there is like the deep innovation in AI that we need to have happening in the open. And I think our community is gonna have to go figure out how to run it and scale it.
Yeah. It's funny, the PyTorch conference had poster sessions, like an academic conference, right? You don't see those at KubeCons anymore at this point.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. It's I would say it's like much more of a split of academic and industry at the PyTorch side still.
I agree. All right, they're starting to break down the conference around us here.
All right.
Last question, what AI tool are you using the most today?
So, probably the accurate answer is Gemini, because I still go to Google. I told somebody here this week, I was like, yeah, you said that, and then I went and I Googled it, and they were like, wait, what, you Googled it? And I was like, yes, I use Google.
It's old school now. We don't do that anymore.
I know.
So.
But, when Google put the kind of Gemini results at the top of Google search at first, I would say that I wasn't really using them that much. But I think they've gotten really good. And the thing that I really like about what they've done is how they have incorporated sources into it. Because this is obviously one of the worries anytime you're using an LLM, like, is that real or did you make that up entirely?
Yep.
And so, I use other AI tools, but the thing that I'm using the most is probably that, just because it's kind of built into my natural Google workflow, and I think it's gotten really good. And I like being able to click on the link and verify that somebody really said that or that exists.
Yeah. And it's Google, so Kubernetes is probably deeply ingrained in that system as well. Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.